Welcome to Potter Revisited, episode 54. I'm Tori.
And I'm Shay.
Today we are covering chapter 17 of Prisoner of Azkaban, Cat, Rat, and Dog.
Or, as we like to call it, Accusatory Whiplash.
Reading this chapter reminded me how much I actually really like this chapter. It's just a lot of really great build-up to stuff.
It's so little, it's such a short period of time. It feels like it all happens in a period of 5 to 7 minutes. It's really what it feels like.
Yeah, a lot of plot dumping and stuff, but yeah, a lot of things are revealed in this chapter, and it's just kind of really fun to read again. And I definitely think as a kid, this was crazy to read.
Yeah, it's a journey.
So obviously at the end of the last chapter, Buckbeak was allegedly executed, and the trio are kind of still mourning that. And
I mean, he was executed. It's not alleged. He's dead. In this timeline.
I guess if it's separate timelines, I mean, who knows?
It definitely happened. He's dead right now.
We've said that time travel is weird in the Harry Potter universe.
This is the time between them saving him and his head being chopped off. Until they travel back in time, it hasn't happened yet.
Buckbeak is dead. Not alleged. But, so the trio are kind of in shock about this, and we talked all about corruption and kind of taking off the rose-tinted glasses you have as a kid last chapter. So Harry's first instinct is just to go to Hagrid, which I thought was really sweet. Hermione's still a bit teary and stuff, but Ron's kind of the voice of reason, being no, we'll get him in trouble if we go back. But Harry's not even really thinking about anything else. He's just Buckbeak was executed. I need to see Hagrid. Hagrid needs me.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you do when you find out something that's terrible's happened to a friend. You're instinctively I need to go to my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry doesn't think about the consequences first. He just thinks about the root emotional motivation.
But they're trying to get back to the castle, but Scabbers will, just not cooperate. And is trying to escape. And what's funny is that they're all under the cloak, so I can imagine this is really kind of crazy, because they're all worried that Fudge and Dumbledore are going to come back any minute. And so they're all under the cloak, and Ron's trying to keep Scabbers in, and obviously he needs to go out from under the cloak to grab Scabbers. And Crookshanks just happens to be there. It's the one time Hermione's not happy to see Crookshanks. She's telling him to go away.
Yeah, not the time, not the place.
It all kind of goes a bit more
awry.
Yeah, it goes awry when this big beast of a dog appears out of the darkness, and it basically knocks Harry over. And Ron, when it goes to attack again, Ron instinctively pushes Harry out of the dog's way. Which I think this chapter really shows what kind of a friend Ron is, because this definitely is done a lot differently in the film, and I have a point about that later. But we talk about instincts as friends. Harry's instincts to go to Hagrid when Hagrid's hurting. Ron's instinct to protect Harry.
Yeah, I find that it's definitely a issue. I mean, it's definitely Ron acting as a friend and the instinct to be a good friend, but I wonder if it's also a little bit the manipulation of the Horcrux. It's trying to defend itself inside its casing. Ooh. So I wonder if the Horcrux is manipulating the people around Harry to protect him above themselves, even sort of now when they're young and when they don't know Harry's the end-all be-all only way to defeat the Dark Lord yet.
That's interesting.
I wonder to what extent that manipulation is involved.
It is hard because they're all Gryffindors, so Ron's instinct as a Gryffindor, is to do stuff like that. But I definitely like the idea of looking at Harry as a Horcrux, and we've talked a lot about in certain dangerous scenarios they get himself into, what part of the Horcrux is trying to protect itself and what part's actually just, Harry doing stuff.
Yeah.
Ron, gets basically, I guess his arm gets bitten by the dog, and the dog kind of drags him towards the Whomping Willow. And I forgot how disturbing it was when they describe Ron breaking his leg.
Yeah, ow. I can almost hear the snap in my head, and it's very,
yeah.
I don't like it.
But, Ron tried his best to, stay in. And I'm that moment after Ron's taken, I was can you imagine, them running up to the school being oh my God, Professor, you gotta come quick, a dog stole our friend and dragged him under the Whomping Willow.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's hard to explain, but also I feel they're used to so many ridiculous shenanigans at Hogwarts at this point.
Yeah.
That it's kind of just oh well, Same thing again. Of course, there's a mutant dog after your cat who's after, like, of course. And what did the unicorn say? Like,
My favorite interaction where Hermione, after this happens, Hermione's like, we need to go get help. And Harry's like, no, that thing's big enough to eat him.
yeah, nope.
Harry's just like, no, we'll just go after the dog. So they did the Gryffindor thing, which is, not to go get help, despite Hermione kind of freaking out. Which definitely kind of shows Hermione under pressure is, doesn't really keep her head. She's like dancing on the spot, freaking out, being like, we need to get help. And Harry's just like, no, let's go.
I feel like they don't often consider splitting up as a valid option. Like, Harry could go after Ron because he is good at spells in the heat of the moment, and Hermione can go get help because she's more trustworthy and the teachers are more likely to, like, believe her that it's a serious situation, and she probably explains herself better.
I also feel like Hermione never splits up because she feels like they'll die without her, which at this point could be true.
Yeah, she's like, if I go somewhere, these two, even if they beat up the Dark Lord or whatever the actual evil is, they're gonna, like, stumble into traffic because idiots.
It's very interesting. We see kind of like the first instance of the Whomping Willow that can like freeze in that Crookshank's nose. And they're like, what is this cat doing? Like,
This cat is really smart. It very much reminds me of when your parents were trying to train your family dog to ring a bell at the back door,
yeah.
and it wasn't sticking, but your cat, Sirius, figured it out. And even though he was supposed to be an indoor cat, he sat at the back door pawing at that little bell you hung there that you did not intentionally teach him to do. And, like, it's that level of, like, clever, sneaky cat.
Cats are usually very hard to train because they don't like actually being trained, but they do pick things up very quickly.
They pick up the things you don't want them to pick up.
Yeah. So obviously they go into this hole under the Whomping Willow, which is, crazy to think about. But
Mysterious, long tunnel underneath, not sure where it's going. Again, nobody knows where they are. Not necessarily the best, safest plan ever, but
but they're kind of like running on adrenaline here because all they think is just like Ron got taken by this dog monster thing and it could eat him. He's hurt. And Harry's just kind of like, we don't have time to wait to find a professor. Like, we gotta go save Ron right now.
Yeah.
Or they're just following Crookshanks into this tunnel. Like, what could go wrong?
Nothing's ever gone wrong in such a circumstance. No.
Yeah, but the tunnel eventually opens up into like a house, and they're seeing things that are like broken and like stains and like things that are like chewed up and stuff. So Harry kind of says like, ghosts didn't do this. So kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah, because Hermione realizes they're in the Shrieking Shack, and it's such a gasp moment the way it's written in the book. It's just like, oh, boarded up windows, old spooky house, not that far from Hogsmeade. Oh, dun dun dun! It's the Shrieking Shack. Like, it's such a big. Like, they built up this location as being so, oh no, forbidden and off limits and dangerous and spooky, and now they're inside, and it's such a good, like, they really build up the hype enough, and then you sort of forget about it when all this action is happening, and then when you realize that, it's such a good, like punch of next level frightening or next level of, like, seriousness.
Yeah, I love all the reveals in this chapter. They're all like so good. I feel like I can kind of remember reading this chapter as a kid and just kind of like, this is like a really big build up. And we're just kind of like stuck there reading like, oh my God, they're in the Shrieking Shack. Oh my God, this happened.
They're not allowed to be there. They're not supposed to be anywhere but in their beds right now. But nonetheless, they're definitely not allowed in the Shrieking Shack.
I was wondering, because like they have this tunnel that goes to the Shrieking Shack. And we know that the Whomping Willow was planted because of Lupin. So that the Shrieking Shack was probably repurposed for him. But like, was the Shrieking Shack and like the tunnel made just for Lupin, or was it already there and they kind of like repurposed it as like a way for Lupin to be away from the school when he transformed?
I feel like it probably was already built there just because, like, architecturally it sounds like a house, and I don't think they'd build Lupin a full house with like staircases and multiple floors just to wolf out. Like, you think it would just be one room with some chains or something.
Oh God.
I mean, right? Like, he's just wolfing out. Like, maybe a TV if he likes to watch TV while he's a wolf. Just like old American Werewolf in London and like the original Wolfman on VHS. I don't know. But like, it definitely, there's too many floors and too many rooms for it to have been built just for one kid who's turning into a wolf once a month.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And then someone must have had to build the tunnel from the Shrieking Shack to Hogwarts.
Yeah, I mean, mole people.
They come into the room and they see Ron, and Ron is like, obviously in pain. His leg's broken. Don't know how he's like even like communicating at this point. He must be in so much pain. And they're like, "Where's the dog? Where's the dog?" And this reveal where they describe a man. They see like, there's no dog. There's a man in his place. And the way they describe like how he looks, like his hair, his skin like stretched over his skull. And then the last line is like, "It's Sirius Black." That it's like I would just remember like getting chills reading this, and like it's still there. Like just the reveal of the dog to Sirius Black is just amazing.
And like him trying to even say the name, like Ron can't even get it out. He's trying. He's like, it's not a dog. It's like it builds the suspense so well.
Yeah, it's just like amazing. Because I feel like the whole book's been leading up to us actually meeting Sirius Black in the flesh with Harry, and it's finally happened. We just heard all these stories about Sirius Black in the passing and the things he's done, but we haven't actually like interacted with him yet.
Yeah, we've like heard the legends. We've seen like the repercussions of his actions. We haven't actually seen his actions occur. It's big serious. One of the things that kind of like drives me nuts is Sirius Black friggin' being vague and mysterious for no reason in this situation. Because to me, this is a high pressure situation. A lot of things could go very wrong. And like, there's a lot of explaining that needs to be done. Preferably a lot of like talking people down from their states of maybe I might have to murder this man. And he's just like vague. He's like, yes, I didn't. He's like, he doesn't say the right things. He does not de-escalate the situation. He escalates it by intentionally being vague and being like, maybe I did kill your parents. And like, I understand that like Sirius feels guilt for his kind of role in the death of Lily and James, but this is just like not the time for that. Like, he's almost acting guilty. He's like playing the part of having done it, He's like, only one person's gonna die tonight, and like obviously everyone's like, oh shit, he means Harry. And he could say so many things to de-escalate the situation, like, hey, I didn't kill your parents, I can prove it, and I'm certainly not gonna kill any of you. I'm gonna talk while you point your wands at me and explain myself, okay?
Yeah, if Lupin had not shown up, Sirius was like not like,
He was a goner because he has no communication skills and no ability to de-escalate. And it's like he didn't want to. It's like part of him is still that like troublesome bad boy at school. And he's like, I'm going to stay mysterious. I'm going to be vague. I'm going to be so cool.
I think it's also like he's not socialized at all. He's been arrested and like basically like in his own head for 12 years, and I think they note in the book that like his voice is very like raspy and like barely there because he probably hasn't spoken in so long. And it's kind of like if you're like so isolated for that long, he doesn't know how to like interact with people. Like, that's something you'd have to relearn.
But you'd think it would be the opposite of like beating around the bush, and he would just get to the point quicker. Like, this is the necessary information, social skills aside. Oh no, I'm not going to kill you. Someone else killed your parents. I'm going to kill that guy.
Yeah, I don't think Sirius hasn't really done any great planning. Like, look at the ways he's tried to get Peter this year, breaking into the castle again with a knife over Ron's bed. Like, he's definitely like kind of like propelled by vengeance. So he's not really thinking about like, oh, these kids who I'm terrified right now and like have no idea what's going on. He's just thinking, I got to get that rat here so I can kill it.
Yeah.
And if Lupin had not come when he did it, it was not a good look.
Sirius would have been a goner. And like, he got so far from just being like able to survive on his own in the wilderness. The fact that the thing that would have tripped him up and ruined it all is just inability to effectively communicate basic essential pieces of information, it would have been kind of embarrassing.
So Sirius mentioned something about Harry's parents, and Harry it's like a switch on him. He's like, he wanted to have his wand to kill because he's basically just like, you can't talk about my parents because, as far as Harry knows, like, they're the reason he has no parents is...
He's like, yeah, don't talk shit about them. You killed them, jerk.
Yeah.
Don't even say their names, He's just so... Again, if things had been explained or if the situation had been de-escalated, but alas, it was not. I think it's interesting that Harry hears a voice in his head when he's really angry at Sirius saying, do it now, like encouraging him to kill Sirius. And I wonder if that's just the voice of Harry being angry, or if that's a little piece of Voldemort that always seems to want to push Harry to go over the edge and like do dark things.
Yeah, I had the same point, I think, a bit further down. But it's like everyone has like an inner voice, but it seems just kind of like, because we know Harry's a Horcrux, that like what part of it is his own like
his own mind, and what is that piece of Horcrux whispering darkness into him.
Yeah, his own will. Yeah, because we know that when they wore the Horcrux necklace, that they all kind of had dark thoughts. So it could be the Horcrux kind of being like wanting to fulfill all his like dark desires.
And I mean, it's hard not to kind of want to kill Sirius in that moment when he's like, I'm not denying that I killed Lily and James. No. I won't deny that. And you're like, no, this is the time to deny it. Explain why you feel bad about it regardless later, but say, no, I didn't kill them now because you're...
Yeah. And he didn't have Lupin kind of like, you know, guiding the conversation. I don't think he could have done it because like, definitely not in his right mind.
Yeah, I love that Harry just punches him. I forget how much punching is in this book, and I feel like it's probably really going to catch a lot of wizards off guard, especially pureblood wizards who probably aren't used to, like, that kind of confrontation. They're probably so caught off guard by being punched. They're like, wait, what? How dare you?
Yeah, like Draco was when Hermione slapped him. At one point before this, before Harry attacks Black, Ron, cause they don't have any wands right now, but Ron stands up with his broken leg and kind of stands beside Harry and it's like says to this supposed murderer, if you want to kill Harry, you have to kill us too. And it's obvious this is a Ron line that made it to the movies, but instead it's given to Hermione. And I feel like it's such a Ron line, not only because Ron's so fiercely loyal, but the fact that he's like injured and he pulls himself up to like defy
on a broken and like a noticeably broken leg, not like a little.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It totally should have.
And Hermione's too scared to say anything because obviously it's murder, but like this is such like a Ron line of defiance and it should have stayed that way in the movie.
Ron has so few, like he does a lot of important things, but he has so few moments where like his impact is so like dramatic and notable, and something like this is like an essential defining moment of the character, kind of like regardless of the pain he's in, regardless of what he's just been through, he means it. He's not just saying that, he really means you will have to kill him to kill Harry. And like to take that away from him in the film is like another grotesque disservice to the character. And again, a disservice to Hermione, who is really wonderful in a bunch of other ways. And you sort of lose track of those ways and devalue all of her actual core canon attributes when she's just all the good things.
Yeah. It kind of blurs the lines between Hermione and Ron, which is dumb. But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we watch the movie at the end of when we finish all this. But I just like seeing that line again. I'm just kind of like I can see it in the movie, and I'm like, it's just not right. It's just such a Ron line to its core.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this is when Sirius is like, you know, oh, only one will die tonight, and he's being just like super vague and sketchy.
So dramatic. Like, oh. Like, what if they just killed him? Like, I mean, I know they don't know the killing curse yet, but, like, they could just bludgeon him to death with, like, the chair leg or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I think Harry was kind of like when Harry lunges at Black, which we were talking about, and he doesn't even think about magic or anything, so he doesn't have a wand. He's just like, you know, he's just so angry at this guy from bringing up his parents and just being, you know, a murderer, that he's just like, I don't even care about my life and everyone who's been trying to protect him from Sirius Black. He just, like, lunges at him and like trying to like choke him and stuff. It doesn't matter. I think Harry describes it being like he doesn't even think that, you know, he's 13. This guy is a full grown adult. He doesn't have a wand. He's just like, you know, lunges at him. Yeah.
He's just going for it. I mean, like, what if Ron did yield How You Defeat a Fully Grown Mountain Troll and just like yeeted a stick up Black's nose through his brain? Like, they could just kill him in a weird Muggle way. He could still be killed. He really needs to stop playing around.
They do kind of like beat him up because I think they get their wands back because like Hermione like Black tries to like I guess he grabs Harry right at the throat and is like kind of choking him to like get free, but then Hermione I think like kicks him in the face or something, and then Ron like basically like falls down and like tries to like get the wands out of his hand, even though Ron can't really do anything because his leg's broken.
Yeah.
And so it's like this really weird kind of like fight where they're all teaming up against Black, and they do end up getting like or Harry gets his wand back at least. And then that's the moment where he's kind of like pointing it at Sirius and being kind of like I need to do it. I need to kill him. Even though he doesn't even know how to kill with wands. I have no idea what he was going to do.
Yeah, what is he gonna do? Alohomora him? Like,
light him on fire? I don't know. I was trying to think of like spells.
He doesn't know fire yet. Hermione could light him on fire.
A kind of crazy Gryffindor thing where like you're not really thinking of a plan here.
I'd love it if Harry was a little bit more logic-based, and anytime he wanted to murder someone, he handed his wand to Hermione, like, you probably know how to kill someone, right? Oh my God. Because, like, he really doesn't. He doesn't know a lot of spells as is. Hermione's probably read a thing or two. She probably could kill Sirius. And I would just love that moment. In the heat of it, he's really angry. He's got his wand out, and he's like, you don't know what you have coming. Show him, Hermione.
When Harry's pointing the wand at Sirius and is like, debating about killing him somehow, Crookshanks like kind of sits on top of Sirius by like the wand. So Crookshanks has a very strong attachment to Sirius. So I'm wondering if it's like a normal cat just likes a person, or is it like a bit more than that? Because obviously they can kind of communicate when Sirius is in its animagus form. But yeah, Crookshanks seems very attached to Sirius.
I mean, I bet Sirius is nice to Crookshanks. So I feel like they probably met. Crookshanks saw a dog and was like, oh, it wants to eat me. And the dog didn't try to eat Crookshanks. And then Crookshanks was like, okay, cool. And then like maybe Sirius like caught a fish and he shared it with Crookshanks. Crookshanks like, oh, this guy's pretty okay. Like he shares food with me.
I wonder if like animals can sense when like, and people in their animagus forms aren't actually animals. Like, I feel like there must be something about that.
Maybe. They probably smell differently, honestly.
Yeah, because they're not actually animals. They're just, it's like magic.
Like, if I showed up at home dressed up like someone else, my dog would probably still know it's me because I still smell like myself. I feel like, so they probably smell like, oh, this is a human. It's a weird-looking human.
He had to trust Sirius enough to know that Sirius wasn't a dog. And also, like, Sirius was able to communicate with Crookshanks, being like, I'm trying to, kill this rat that's also not a real rat. And Crookshanks decides to, help him out. So there must be something there.
I mean, for sure he must have... I mean, I think Crookshanks was always super suspicious of the rat.
Mm-hmm. Well, he knew that there's an imposter among us.
Maybe Sirius Black is just a cat person. Maybe cats just love him in general, and we don't have any other cats to know, but he's like, cats notoriously love him, and we'll never know that because we don't see him interacting with other cats.
Yeah, but Harry's, debating even killing Crookshanks because he's like, you know what? It's in league with Sirius, so it's evil.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill that cat.
And it's so funny. Harry's just thoughts are kind of like racing at this point. He's just like not really... Everything's adrenaline right now. But before anything can happen, Lupin comes in and he takes Harry's wand with the Expelliarmus, and he's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, your first thought is like, oh, Lupin, and it's like relief, supervision, a good adult. There's so few good adults. He's the good adult. He's arrived, protection, safety. And then all of a sudden...
Lupin comes in, he takes Harry's wand, and he's like, they're all telling him, like, all these things are happening, and then Lupin then goes and he kind of has this weird one-sided conversation with Sirius, and then all of a sudden they hug, and it's described like brothers, like old friends. And I feel like this betrayal hit so hard reading it as a kid, because Lupin is probably like one of the best adults in the book, like this book. Like Lupin, he's like, we've learned so much about him. He's such like a great mentor to Harry. And I feel like this betrayal would hit so hard because it's like it's like a twist for thinking that like Lupin's this good guy. But actually, he was evil this whole time.
Yeah, it's destabilizing. Like, he's such a, like, okay, he's the good guy. He's the pure light. That's the first adult that you don't really need to question the morality of, or, like, the values of, or, like, what his intentions are. And then you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's kind of like the opposite of, like, the first book where we thought Snape was evil, but like that's because he was acting evil. But then like Lupin acts good the whole book, and then you think he's evil. It's like
it's a twist,
flipping it. Yeah, and you're just like the material that the trio have is kind of like what you feel when you read the book, like being like, we trusted you, like
yeah.
But the conversation that I just want to jump into the conversation that Lupin and Sirius have. That basically, Sirius doesn't really say much, but I feel like it shows how deep their friendship is, because they're kind of able to read each other's body language. Sirius barely says anything to Lupin. Lupin just kind of asks these questions to appease his own mind, because he's kind of figuring out what happened wasn't what he thought happened wasn't what happened. And like, yeah, they barely talk. Lupin asks like 3 questions to Sirius, and then he confirms it, and he's just like, okay. And like they're back to being buddies.
Yeah, I guess like he probably had started putting things together and had some assumptions, and he just needed to like clarify if one or two of his like hypothesi. He's like, did you not do the thing? Mm-hmm. Did he do the thing? Mm-hmm. Did you want to go get fries later? Mm-hmm. Okay. We can order pizza? Mm.
I think also knowing someone so well, you can kind of like read their faces too. And I feel like Lupin's kind of avoided it because he always thought Sirius was evil, but now he kind of has like evidence to back up that maybe things weren't what he thought they were.
Yeah. And it's much nicer to have like, it's probably nice to confirm what you used to think about him. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's why he went in for that hug, and it's like very dramatic in the movie. But I feel like for Lupin, like it must have been so hard to feel like you knew someone and then just like your entire
betrayed you in such a horrendous way.
Yeah, your entire thoughts were apparently wrong, and just like the faith you had in like your friend and just like friendships and stuff, and then to find out that he was right about Sirius the whole time and it was just like a big mistake, like that must have to be so relieving to know that your friend didn't betray you, and like your faith in friendships and just like the bond you shared, everything's like what you thought it was. Lupin's really been through it.
Honestly, they all, in these few pages, they all go through so much. It's kind of like accusatory whiplash. Like, first they're like, oh, Crookshanks is evil. No, wait, Sirius is evil. No, wait, Lupin is evil too. No, wait, Lupin's not evil. Wait, they're pointing at Ron. Is Ron evil? No, it's the rat. The rat's evil. But is Sirius evil? It's like physically exhausting and like strenuous and all over the place.
Yeah, a lot is like said in this chapter, and it's a lot of just like kind of like basically jumbling up what your perception has been to what it could be, and like yeah, so like Sirius is evil, but wait, he might not be evil, and like wait, Lupin could be evil, but is he evil? And like it's all so confusing, and I definitely feel like the trio, like they're all kind of like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah, they just like, it's so many changes and circumstances so quickly.
I do like that their portrayal of what appears to be from Lupin runs really deep with the trio because they all really like him. And Hermione outs him quite angrily for being a werewolf because she pointed like I covered for you. Hermione was very offended. She's like, I've covered for you. I didn't tell anyone anything I learned, but you're a werewolf. And so like it was the biggest thing she could do.
Hermione really hates to be wrong. And I feel like she was right that he was a werewolf, but in that moment thinking he's evil, she was wrong to trust him despite him being a werewolf. And I think that's it hurts her to be betrayed, but it also hurts her to think she made the wrong choice.
I do like how Lupin talks to her too. He's like, oh, you're wrong out of 2 out of 3, Hermione, not up to your usual standard.
Yeah, honestly, Lupin is so effective at actually reducing the tension and de-escalating the situation in all the ways that Sirius could not. Like he comes and he's like, look, let's all calm down for a minute, putting the wands down. I'm not evil. He's not evil. We don't want to kill you. I'm on your side. And like just putting the wands down is such a huge step in the progress of that situation. And like he's being very casual in such a way, like his tone, like being like that with Hermione, almost picking up the rapport they already have, does a great job of making them feel like it's a more familiar situation rather than this complete, unique, weird situation that no one has ever been in before. It's just like so thorough, so well done, and honestly, thank goodness for Remus Lupin.
He drops a lot of information in this chapter, so he reveals not only that he was Moony and that he created the Murderous Map, that he's a werewolf, but he's kind of like also reveals some things about Peter Pettigrew.
He's like, this little rat.
Yeah, so at the end of the chapter, when he's describing how he got there, he was checking the map because he knows that trio, and he's like, oh, they're going to sneak out and see Hagrid.
Yup.
So he's just keeping an eye on them, but then he sees that Peter Pettigrew had joined them from Hagrid's house. But the way they describe it is also really great as another kind of like third reveal from this chapter. So many reveals being like, another person joined you. And they're like, no, there was only 3 of us. And like, nope, a 4th person joined you. They don't reveal who it was until the end.
And like he can afford to take these little literary and dramatic moments now that he's prevented them from killing each other instantaneously, you know?
Points at Ron. And then Ron's like, not me. But they're like that rat, let me see it. And then they end the chapter off with like, this isn't a rat, it's Peter Pettigrew.
It was Peter the whole time.
Yeah, so basically this whole chapter is just kind of like twisting what we thought we knew and what we thought we knew we didn't know, and revealing the mysterious Peter Pettigrew.
It's honestly Like, they probably didn't have to, like, put so much in so few pages. Like, I feel like they could have, like, had this be 2 scenes rather than, like, 1 if they really wanted to. So you get more, like, I feel like the tension of, oh, wow, it's Sirius Black went away really quick.
Yeah, I feel like originally I thought the chapter ended with the Sirius reveal, but it ends with the Peter reveal instead.
Yeah. It just feels kind of like it's unsatisfying almost in a way because so much happens in such a short amount of time and it just kind of ends like that. And you're like, oh, okay, great. So we just like you, no, not you, okay, him. And that's the whole chapter. And I just like, it doesn't feel like we covered ground. It doesn't feel, I don't know. I find it a little underwhelmed. Like, it's too fast paced to not give us more sort of progress towards, because like to me this is the climax. Like, you know, in primary school when you have to draw like a hill that represents the plot of a book and it's like beginning, climax is the top of the hill. This, to me, this chapter is like the climax. This is the big face off kind of, or at least the first one.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced chapter, but I think the next chapter kind of more leads into the climax where we're not just being told that this is Peter Pettigrew and not Scabbers, but we actually see it. And then we actually get more information about Harry's parents and how it all kind of went down. A lot more bone chilling. But yeah, it definitely was a lot of like punches in one chapter. I feel like one of the bigger twists was when we find out that like it was Quirrell, not Snape in book 1. But like that was also just one reveal, but I feel like 3 reveals in one chapter it's a bit much.
Yeah, it's just like the whiplash is kind of real. Like it kind of makes me sore almost. Like I want to have time to like discover, oh, interesting, Crookshanks is in on this situation. I wouldn't have expected that from like Hermione's cat. And then like, oh my goodness, Sirius Black is there. Like I didn't get enough time to really think about or like consider each sort of conclusion that they came to before they jumped to the next conclusion.
I feel it's definitely trying to do the pace of like what Harry, Ron, and Hermione are going through, because they're all like, it's a highly tense situation. They're all running on adrenaline. Everything's happening really quick. So I feel like the whiplash you kind of get from all these like things being dropped is like kind of how they're feeling with like the crazy scenario they've kind of found themselves in, because they just went there to rescue Ron, who was dragged up by an animal, and all of a sudden the animal's Sirius Black, and all of a sudden Lupin might be bad, and all of a sudden Scabbers, it's not Scabbers, but Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of more than anything? In Clue the movie, at the end when they try and guess who it is, regardless of which ending, and Tim Curry says, okay, it was this person, and you all run to one room, and he's like, Miss White was in this room, and then he runs to the next room, and he's like, well, Miss Scarlet was in this room, and then he runs to the room with the candlestick, and he's like, this is where the candlestick, and they run from place to place, back and forth, like frantic, crazy people, to get to the conclusions, and I'm like, that's how it feels. Like,
yeah, it's a lot going on, but I feel like all the reveals were really shocking and really great, and they still kind of hold up. Like, I feel like when you read things as a kid, everything feels kind of shocking and kind of crazy. But now that we're older and you love your true crime, I love mystery novels, like this still kind of holds up even though we're a lot older and we've probably read better mysteries these days.
But I do love the mystery element. I just wish that we had like evidence leading to each of these suspects rather than just someone telling us it was him. Never mind, it was him. Actually, it was both of them. Actually, neither. Like, why? Show me the fingerprints. Show me the footprints on the map. Show me something.
She just likes having evidence. But yeah, do you have any other remarks about this chapter before we wrap up?
My take on this chapter is I'm tired. I'm glad Lupin's a good guy. We still don't really know how we feel about the cat at this point, right? Like, based on the whiplash, the cat could be in it with... We don't know.
Basically, we end this chapter not really... Yeah, we don't really know who's good and who's bad by the end of this chapter. We just have people telling us things, and we're like, but what's the truth?
Yeah, because if I was Lupin and I was a bad guy, I'd be saying the same things that Lupin's saying now as a good guy.
It's kind of a mystery. We don't really know who we should be rooting for.
I know who I'm rooting for.
Ugh.
For those listening, I made a face and she knew I was thinking about Severus Snape, and that's why she made a gross noise.
I didn't even look at your face. I don't have to zoom up, but I was just kind of like, I just know. And my thoughts are just kind of like, I love just kind of like, the chapter is quick, but I love all like kind of like how they reveal each thing, and we get a lot of information in this chapter as well. And I just think Lupin's just a really great voice of reason, because Sirius does not really do himself any favors here, but he's obviously, not really thinking.
No.
That is kind of a Gryffindor trait. But Lupin is a really great voice of reason and de-escalates everything. And I just feel like Ron's the MVP at this chapter because he's going through everything, including that fight they had with Black with the broken leg.
Yeah, seriously, Ron needs medical attention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Potter Revisited.
This has been a disaster,
We'll be back next time to discuss Chapter 18 of Prisoner of Azkaban, Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. If you have any questions or theories or things you want to share with us, you can email us at potterrevisitedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us online at Potter Revisited, and we'll be back.
Bye.